You know, buying your first home can be a thrilling and a daunting prospect in equal measures. They say put your money into bricks and mortar and you can't go wrong. But here at Skill Builder we get countless emails from people who have gone wrong for one reason or another. And we also get emails from people who are trying to avoid going wrong. Here is our roadmap to help you navigate your way through that minefield of buying a property for the first time. Location, location, location. We've all heard that before, but it's worth considering the location because you can change an awful lot of things about a property, but you can't change where it is. Now, when you buy a property in a certain area, you're really buying into the amenities of that area. It could be that there's a railway station close by that makes it more attractive to commuters. It could be there are good schools. It could be shops, cinemas, country walks, you name it. All these things will affect the price of a property, and it makes it more attractive for you to buy. It will also make it more attractive when you come to sell it. Now, don't fall for the estate agent's hype that an area is up and coming. You don't want to pay more than the property's worth, and it may well be that that area is up and coming, but you don't want to pay for the future potential of the area. You want to pay for what it is now. Now, unfortunately, these days we also have to consider what the crime is like in an area. If there's been a history of break-ins, then that's something that you need to take into consideration. Now, another thing that's worth doing is maybe to stay in the area that you're going to buy in. If you like a particular area, it's probably worth you getting an Airbnb for a night just to see what it feels like and just get a general feel for the place. You know, walk around, talk to a few people, ask them what it's like to live there. Now, don't buy a home because you like the kitchen or the bathroom. They're superficial things. They can be changed. It's amazing how many people make the biggest, most important purchase of their life just because they walk in and they love the kitchen or they love the bathroom and they suddenly see themselves living there. More important are things like how much living space have you got, if you've got parking space, if you've got a car, how much storage space you've got. A lot of properties don't have very much storage space. Now, this one's going to sound a bit obvious, but you've got to work out what your budget is. Work out how much money you can realistically beg, borrow or steal from your grandparents and see if you can buy a property that fits into that category, because there's nothing wrong with ambition. We all want to buy the best house in the best road, but if you find that you've bought something that you really can't afford the repayments on and you end up chucking the keys in after a couple of years, all that money is wasted and it can put you off property buying for life. So buy with your head and not your heart. So once you've worked out what you can realistically afford, it's a good idea to go and get yourself a pre-approved mortgage. Talk to a few mortgage lenders, tell them what you earn, tell them what your outgoings are likely to be, and then they'll be able to work out a figure that they're willing to lend you and maybe your partner. That way, when you go to the estate agent, you're a better proposition, you're a more realistic buyer. Find yourself an estate agent you can trust. Now, that sounds like a bit of a joke, doesn't it? Because estate agents have got about as much trust as plumbers, solicitors and double glazing salesmen. And of course you can do it all online, but the thing that a local estate agent brings to the party is they know the area, they know what the properties are worth, and they can probably help you save you a bit of time looking at properties that you're never ever going to buy. Think very carefully about leasehold properties. They can be a minefield. The idea of a leasehold property is you don't actually ever own it completely. The land is owned by somebody else and you pay a rent to stay on it. Now, leases are often 99 years, so you think, okay, I'm not going to live that long, what's the problem? But if you get a new landlord and that landlord has got ambitions, they want to put the prices up, they want to change a few things, you can find yourself in difficulty. But I would say if you could possibly avoid it, get yourself a freehold property. So the good news is that the law is going to change on leasehold properties and leaseholders are going to have more rights. Surveys and surveyors. Well, when you get a mortgage, the mortgage companies probably want to send around a valuation surveyor just to check that the property is worth the money that they're going to lend you on it. But over and above that, you might want a full structural survey. It's a sensible thing to do. But the problem is with surveyors is that there's good ones, there's bad ones. Some of them are quite lazy. And when you look at the survey report and you see that they said we couldn't examine the state of the floorboards because there were fitted carpets. We couldn't see what was going on in the loft because there was too much junk up there. We couldn't see whether the property was built out of brick or concrete because it was rendered. Quite honestly, sometimes you're better off just finding a friendly local builder who knows a little bit about properties, and they can just run their eye over it, and often they can spot the things that are wrong very, very quickly. The only trouble with that, of course, is you've got nobody to sue if they fail to spot something that becomes a major problem in the future. Okay, so you found a property, you negotiated a price, but you haven't really figured for all the extras. You've got your stamp duty, possibly, you've got your conveyance fees, you've got your solicitors, you've got insurances. Everybody wants to take a bit of money out of your pocket, which leaves you precious little for doing those necessary jobs. Now, if you buy a fixer-upper, and everybody loves that idea of buying a property, doing it up in their own way, don't underestimate how much this is going to cost. These days, even builders are shocked by the price increases in building materials. They go to price a job and then they find that they're losing money because the prices have shot up. Whatever it costs this year, it's going to cost more next year. And of course, you've got the builders themselves. They don't want to work for nothing. And if you find a property that you love, it's a sort of fixer-upper, you think you can renovate it, you can do a lot of the work yourself, well, good luck to you. I've done that, and it does take an awful big chunk out of your life doing it. You learn a lot along the way, and it can be fun. But if you don't have that kind of staying power after a couple of years of doing that, you just wish you'd never started. By all means, find an old wreck, do it up, make some money, or make yourself a lovely home that you want to stay in for a good long time. Now, when you buy a home, a flat or a house, you have to make up your mind whether this is just a stepping stone for you, whether you're going to be moving on to greater things. We all want to move up, we've all got ambitions, but you have to be realistic about how quickly you can do that. Now, if you want to start a family, you obviously need a little bit more space than some pokey little one-bedroom flat. But if you're sure that you only want to stay in the property for maybe 5 years, get yourself a foot on the ladder before you move on up, then that's absolutely fine. You don't need to worry about things like schools and having too much space. Now, can you make money on property? You know, you buy a property and you see the prices going up, and you see people rubbing their hands and saying, oh, best money I ever made. And sometimes putting a lot of work into a property and then selling it on for a profit, you think that's a profit, but when you actually factor in the time you spent and the materials and everything else, it may be that the increase in price is only due to market rates going up. So just think seriously about whether you're a flipper or whether you're not, because it's a little bit of a skill game. You've got to know what you're doing. And I did actually know a woman, she bought a house, and all she did is went in there, got a couple of guys in there, they cleared the garden, they cleaned the windows, and they got rid of all traces of the previous occupant, and they painted the place white, and then she put it back on the market. It took 2 weeks to do this work, and she put it back on the market for another £100,000. She didn't know anything about property, but she knew what it was that was putting people off buying that property. And all it was is it just looked a bit of a mess. I'm Roger Bisbee. Come back and see us soon. And if you're buying a property and you're not quite sure about it, then by all means send us the photographs, tell us about it, and if I can spot anything that I think is particularly alarming, I'll let you know.